All right, this match review comes to us from RosaTulips, who has 323 hours in the game of Dead by Daylight. So you're relatively fresh. I know it's kind of scary to say that in a game where you're like, oh, I have 300 hours or more than 300 hours, and I am newish. Yep, that's just how DBD works. I don't expect people to consistently have short chases and consistently be able to pressure their gens till about 1K. I think that's when, not even just in DBD, but in a lot of games, that's where you have like mastery of a game. You look at a lot of like Resident Evil, like speedrunners, no damage runners, that sort of thing. They usually say like, hey, around 1K hours, I understand this game fairly well. So it's not too wild of a statement. Unfortunately for you, not only are you on the fresh side, but you're also playing one of the weakest characters in the game, that being Skull Merchant. This character very infamously got kneecapped on purpose because player outcry about them not being fun to face. Behavior decided to just nuke them into the dirt strength wise and then fix it another day, which has still not happened years later. So yeah, that's working against you pretty substantially. You're on Dead Sands, which isn't the worst map in the world, but there's a lot of pallets. Not a strong main building to speak of, just one shack, but like, yeah, there's a ton of pallets here, so that may come to harm you. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look around your perks. Okay, it is a little pixelated, but I think it's hard because there's two different, it's very hard to tell what add-on this is because there's two different purple add-ons. I think this is geographical readout because I don't see the big target in the middle. I would hope so. So geographical readout, this increases the breaking of pallets, walls, generators, and vaulting windows by 20 seconds for 8 seconds after deploying a drone. And then you have probably the most popular add-on I see people run on Skull Merchant, which is the ultrasonic speaker, which reduces the immunity to the consecutive scan line hits for 90% of its default value. These add-ons are fine. These are ones that I see commonly on people that actually do love this character. Obviously you get a fairly strong anti-loop with geographical readout. Even in the first edition of Skull Merchant, this was an add-on that I went to a lot when the character was fairly new. Ultrasonic speaker is also very, very good. It's not amazing, but for just a brown add-on, it's like it has a lot of usefulness for just being a brown. So that's fine. That's good. Your build is a little interesting. Surge makes sense. You're an M1 killer. So makes sense to me. Your 3 perks on your build are dedicated to hunting down the obsession because you got Friends Furtive and then Game of Foot to switch the obsession. So like you don't end up in a situation where like, oh, the obsessions are adding and now I can't do much. But that is a 3 perks dedicated to a single gimmick. I'm not saying it's like a bad gimmick and you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying that is 3 perks dedicated to a single gimmick. If that gimmick doesn't end up working out, that leaves you with Surge, and that's it. So just a word of caution that you really should. We had a match review. There was a Springtrap match review. Somebody had something similar where they were running like an obsession build and they weren't really chasing their obsession. And it just kind of ended up like really hurting them. So I always try to warn people about that. If you're going to revolve most or all of your build around a specific gimmick, make sure you do the gimmick, because otherwise you're just loading in with basically no perks. And I would never tell somebody to do that, so don't do it to yourself. This one's on the quieter side. Yeah, I've seen people do that. Worked. You spot somebody fairly early, which is good. Is your obsession too? Okay. I don't think you get this. Yeah. Probably didn't try to lunge there, because you did get the haste there, but oh, she shouldn't have agreed to that. Probably just doesn't know you have the haste though. Quick gen. Okay, good. Reversing it back. Good job. You'd love to see it. Played fairly well there. Unfortunately, you are committing a lot of time to this chase. I understand that, like, that's your obsession, but that was about a minute and a half. Just a little bit under a minute and a half when you started chasing this person. more like a minute-ish. Minute and some extra change there, so it was not a horrible chase, but a little bit of a lengthy chase. Once again, I understand that, like, that's not gonna work, sister. 3 of your perks are dedicated to basically the obsession, so finding the obsession early has probably felt like a huge boon. Oh. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, I don't know when you recorded this, but Diminish Returns is in effect now. You have haste stacking. I'm gonna stack for a little less than usual. There we go. Go for that lunge. Hey, second. How are you, Omi? It's good to see you. Yeah, you know that Ada here really wanted to go for saves earlier, so you're trying to be a little careful. Just don't be so careful that, like, you're letting her get into position for the save, because that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, I think you may have waited too long. Oh, wow. Michaela could have got that, too. Especially if she came around the other end. Pixel's like, Skull Merchant! I've been summoned! Yeah, Pixel, not to put you on the spot, but if there's any Skull Merchant specific stuff that you see here, I am definitely not well versed on the character, so if there's something that's like advice that you're like, hey, do this Skull Merchant specific thing, feel free. Because I'm giving mostly killer advice when it comes to this, because I've not played her in a hot minute. That's the fun about doing match reviews live. People will see things that I don't, or know things that I don't. Pretty cool. Ooh, I respect the mind game. Didn't work, though. Hope all's well. As good as it can be. That's the best I can ask for. Above ground, as they say. Above ground. Now, the thing with Game of Foot is, like, that's not going to transfer to Leon because it transfers to who has the most chase time. Like, you'll get this quick down on him, but it doesn't really serve you. I'm surprised Ada didn't go for the save, because she was following that chase around. Interesting. Okay, trying to do the basement stairs thing. Michaela's not half bad. Getting those vaults and those fast vaults over angles. Ooh, with the bait too. Okay. So when you're in a situation like this, especially when you have Game of Foot, yeah. If you're in a situation like this where like you like are getting the inclination that like a survivor has your number, especially since you have Game of Foot, so even though she is your obsession, you want to get friends furtive, you can just like, you know, chase somebody else and eventually switch it to them. I agree with the notion that like I should probably leave, because like I think one of the bad things that happens with a lot of DVD players, especially when they're newer, is they like to ego chase people, because they'll get mad that things are going wrong, but then instead of like trying to make adjustments to on the fly to adapt and still win the game, they'll get it in their head of like, okay, well, I got to get this guy because he dropped like 3 pallets in my face and it's really making me mad. And it's like, well, then you spend like 2-3 minutes in a chase, and then that's most of the chase time, and then that chase time in the background becomes gen time because people are working on gens in the background. It's just a bad time. So I like that you had the wherewithal to like go, this isn't working out, I should probably go find somebody else. It happened a little late, maybe a little bit on the late side, but that's a good like mental note to have of like, this is not going well, I should probably dip. Curious about the build, yeah, because they're going for like a chase the obsession profit, but I had warned at the beginning that's like, you know, this is 3 perks dedicated to a specific gimmick, so like if that gimmick doesn't end up panning out, then like that's a lot of resources you've devoted to that. I like how you got that stand and got the down. But I do believe this is post-diminishing returns, because I think I saw earlier when you had Game of Foot stacking and furtive that like it was only doing a minor percentile for the second effect, so yeah. Okay, I don't know if that'll work, but I see the vision. Yeah, she messed up, good job. Now you can go back to doing your obsession chase gimmick. Sorry for bumping the mic, guys. I haven't done that in a while. But it does happen. You're in a pretty good spot. You got 2 people on hook. And that geographic readout. Nice. Good job. Well done. Well, I've always liked that add-on. It's nice. Well, since we're, you know, I do give advice on the build. What makes it in particular not good for skirmishing? Hi, Croft. How are you? Not trees, yes. Oh, that sucks. I saw you got you were trying to just follow her, but you kind of like fell off the staircase there. What about me? I'm doing pretty all right. We're having some scary weather that I did not know was coming, but I'm only out of brownout so far. That was kind of an interesting mind game. I didn't really see a scenario where that would have worked, but respect the attempt, I suppose. Now she might... Oh, that sucks. She might have DS. That might be why she's running into you. Okay, you seem to be aware of that and you're slugging her for the time being. She caught off hook and came right towards you, which was kind of suspect. Not gonna lie. Have you just been chill? Yeah. I'd say so. She was obsession at the beginning, even when you've had some obsession switches, so the odds that she has DS is very high. Okay. Either she didn't have it or the time ran out. They have 2 gens ready to pop. That's rough. I think that middle chase that you had with Michaela ate up a lot of the time. But I want to see their perks and stuff too. That's why I asked for that. Now with two gens nearly done on this side of the map, you don't really have a good gen spread, period. So like you're kind of just doing your best. I would not go too far from these 2 gens because they're nearly finished. So the odds that the survivor is lurking nearby trying to just like slide back in on those is fairly high. So I'm not so sure about the choice to like go globetrotting across the map. I'd like a good like internal clock. I can see that. Of like, maybe I should leave. I think that's why I was saying at the beginning of this. It's like 1,000 hours or like seems like a lot. Feels like a ridiculous like statement for like, oh well, this is when you're quote unquote good at DBD, but it's like even just getting chase time. If somebody's spinning in your face like that, just back up. If somebody is spitting in your face like that, just like back up. And if you back up, then they're not going to be like messing with your camera, and then you can just hit them. Sitting 2-8 extra week, please no. At TSLs. Dude, I forgot she laughs when she downs people sometimes. I was like, who is laughing? What do I have on? Okay, so they got them. The good thing is these guys are both depth. Like I would ideally not go for... Okay, well, if he's just gonna try to sneak up to the hook, then yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, you're not in a situation where you would have necessarily needed to camp the hook here, because you know where Dwight is, and Leon healed up, brother. That's lame. Damn. Yeah, Leon healed super fast. I'm like, you would have been in a good spot, but Leon just like turbo healing kind of ruins that. Yeah, be careful about getting blinded here. Don't get too greedy. Yeah, if Leon had not giga healed in like 2 seconds, you would have realistically been in a good spot to get a 3 carry up. You know, that's modern DBD for you, unfortunately. I would just pick him here. Because, like, Leon's not going to get that door in time between you hooking that guy. You're just kind of, like, giving them the chance to, like, regroup, heal up, maybe, and then go get him. Okay, luckily, they're grouped up. That was an interesting swing. Okay, that being said, Ada's definitely gonna, like, after this, go run down to Dwight, so you need to hunt her down. Yeah, because they got the lock on, like, right before you went for that. But maybe geographic readout, they were like, must kick pallet fast. You know, must get out. I see people do that with Xemorph Self Destruct Bolt a lot. They'll vault when they don't need to, like when they already have the shot, because they're just like, me vault fast, you know. Okay. If nobody gets up, some shenanigans don't happen. You did end up pulling this through at the last possible second. Thank you for refreshing alert, Char. Who's match with this? Rosa? Lips, I think. RosaTulips. RosaTulips. They have 323 hours in the game? Yes, that's correct. Yeah, you went big at the end there to try and slug everybody out. Thankfully it worked, because the two of them got together to reset and you caught them out. Hi, Nessie. How are you? Okay, in terms of the build, there's one Prove Thyself, and this is the guy that you did not see the most of. And you'll find that this is like, you know, fairly common, as you'll find people that like have the big gen perk will probably play a little bit more immersive because they want to get value out of it. So imagine a lot of that happened in the background, which is why this game was maybe a little bit closer than it usually would be. In terms of your main takeaways, I think in terms of your first takeaway, I think the thing that like hurts you in terms of like general killer knowledge and general killer behavior is that like your chases are slightly on the long side. They weren't like egregiously so until that Michaela chase in the middle. That being said, you still had the wherewithal to understand that chase was long and left it eventually at Shack, which was good. That was really great. But I've been a little late, so I think that like whatever internal timer that you have for like this chase is taking too long, I should probably just injure the guy, kick a pallet, and then leave. I think it's just slightly a little too long. So that's a relatively minor adjustment to make. Thankfully for you, it's just take that little internal timer that you have for chasing somebody too long and shorten it just a smidge more, and I think you'll find that sweet spot, because it seems like you are either have that or are building that skill already, but it's just a little on the long side. So if you could ring that in a little bit, that would be perfect. I think in terms of geographic readout, I think it is an excellent add-on. I like it a lot. But like PixelBush was pointing out, I think sometimes you go for the kicks over like using your power or getting the hit or down. Just because you can kick a pallet out of the way in like 1 second doesn't mean it's necessarily the right play in every situation. Especially now that like a lot of maps have the pallet density update, and then, you know, if you spend the time kicking that pallet within a single second, they could probably just find themselves in another one fairly quickly. It's not as good of an idea all the time. So try to contextualize like when I should or shouldn't break the pallet. Because like perfect example of when you did a really good thing with geographic readout is when you had Dwight cornered at the back of the map, and then it was the double pallet setup, but he was on the opposite side, so he just was up against the wall of the entire map. There's no way he wins in that scenario if you use this add-on, because you just, like you did, you just shred the one pallet and then swing around the other and he's just dead, right? That was good. That was great. That was nice. But like we had pointed out earlier, there's plenty of situations where you would stop to kick a pallet when you could have just like two-tapped the Dwight going for the unhook or something like that. So just because you can kick the pallet doesn't mean you always should. So try to measure out when it's a good idea to do that and when it's not, instead of just going, oh, well, I have the add-on, it goes fast, so I should just do that. You know? Okay. So I can go ahead and make that the third takeaway then, because I was very interested, like, because this is something that I don't know specifically about the character, is that for your third takeaway, as Pixel just pointed out, with the obsession chase build, especially since you're doing like friends furtive and game afoot, so it's like swapping around, that's kind of incentivizing you to chase whoever the obsession lands on in order to get the most value out of your build. But as PixelBush is saying, it seems that it is the best to prioritize the survivors they either have or are giving you lock-on stacks, because that's, you know, that's your power. I know Behavior did their darndest to try and make sure this character doesn't have a power, but she's not fully done yet until, you know, maybe she does a little bit too well in like the kill stats and they, you know, get her again. But until then, yeah. I think that both in the add-on and perk department, it seems that prioritization of like going for value over like what is the right play seems to be something that kind of like trails across your play style. And getting perk and add-on value is good, but there's time and place for the add-on value, time and place for like perks. And it seems like, well, from what PixelBush is saying, is that like just those three perks in general, like the obsession, swap, chase, just kind of like is antithetical to like your game plan as the character. But yeah, and especially considering the fact that like, yeah, we have diminishing returns, the haste that you get naturally, and then you have furtive, and then you have game afoot. So you're like applying multiple versions of the same effect over and over. Haste was probably hit the most difficultly with diminishing returns. Yeah, you're kind of over applying a lot of the same effect, which means it's like you're kind of better off. Like, I'm not one of those people that thinks like diminishing returns ruined builds. I think if you're only stacking like once, like you're effectively running the same thing, just not as potent. It's not a huge deal, but like when you're stacking like three different of the same effect, and then it's applying to your power too, it's like it starts getting really muddy. Like then you're running an entire perk slot for like 0.1%, not 0.1%, that's an exaggeration for humor, but you're running like an entire perk slot for a 1% bonus at times, and it's like that's not ideal. You can be mad about it, you can not like it, you can be somebody that's like diminishing returns bad, but at the end of the day, it's in the game now currently, so it's something that regardless of how you feel about it, you got to work around it. You gotta decide whether, you know, you got to build your builds around that presently being in the game. I think those would be my main three. I know we kind of vaguely like go into 4 of them because we talked about diminishing returns on top of it as well, but the TLDR is don't chase too long. You're already got that mostly down pat, but chase a little bit lighter. Don't prioritize add-on value over like getting like a hit or a double tap, something like that, and make sure that your build synergizes with what your character does. In this case, chasing specific survivors according to your power is more powerful than just kind of like chasing whoever happens to land with the obsession.